In today's digital age, the term compute is everywhere. But what does it actually mean, and why is it becoming so central to innovation? Historically, innovation was measured in financial investment or human capital. But today, compute is emerging as a new currency. The availability of processing power determines what is possible, how quickly ideas can be tested, and the scale at which solutions can be deployed. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, at its really core, compute refers to the processing power required to run applications, perform calculations, and even manage data. So, whether it's simulating complex scientific experiments, training large AI models, or managing cloud based applications, the capacity to compute efficiently and effectively has become a competitive advantage. Companies that can harness compute can iterate faster, innovate smarter, and ultimately lead markets. Let's welcome Narendra Sen, founder and CEO of RackBank and NeevCloud, to discuss the economics of compute, why affordable high performance infrastructure is key to India's innovation. Hi Narendra, how are you doing?
I'm good, Priya. Thanks for having me here. Excited to be part of your podcast.
Likewise, Narendra, we are really glad to have you on our podcast. And of course, I think we are going to touch down on some very critical aspects with regards to compute and how we can ensure that India is on the path of scalable and sustainable data centers and building high performance infrastructure. But let's start our conversation by telling our listeners more about RackBank. So it would be great if you could brief us about the company.
Absolutely. So RackBank is a AI infrastructure company. Our vision to make cloud and compute affordable and available for everyone. To order to achieve our vision, we started building data centers where the power is surplus, and it's cheaper. And that's where we chose in central India, where the latency can be achieved, a unilateral latency. If any users coming from north to south, south to east to west, they can get a unilateral latency, and that's where very strategic to choose those locations. So RegBank vision overall to how we can optimize and make it infrastructure affordable and available to so anyone can innovate. And that's the vision of RackBank and NeevCloud.
Great. Thank you, Narendra, for that overview. And it really gives us a clear picture of the organization and the depth of expertise you bring to the table. I think it what stands out is how the company is positioned itself, not just as a service or solution provider, but more like a strategic partner, helping organizations and businesses navigate the digital complex challenges. Having said that, we would like to, move to you, Narendra. I mean, you're on a mission to build India's AI infrastructure, making compute accessible, affordable, and sovereign. So we would like to know more about you, Narendra. How has your journey been till date, and what led you to be on this mission? And if you could talk about your role at RackBank as well.
Yeah, so it's early days when the computers are new. When I started working with Cyber Cafe and learn internet, very fascinating for me, and learning new days, new things. And I always wanted to bring, our population is billion plus. Why we don't have long back? I'm referring that there's no compute infrastructure and not Indian. That's a question mark. That today, fast forward, 80 to 90% data centers are foreign-owned data centers, and 90% are cloud dependency on foreign clouds. So, despite the Indians has built the infrastructures and for others, like all hyperscalers, our India's coders, developers' contribution is more than 70% building those clouds. So why not build in India? Why not build our own infrastructure? So my thesis is like if data is oil, then data centers are refinery, and we should and this data centers create oil as a refinery create oil, and those refineries outside the country, then they will control the data or intelligence. So we have to bring back, we have to own it. They are controlling the infrastructure, they are controlling the world. So in the similar direction, the new edge the AI should be in India, owned, operated by us. We can give it to the global, access to globe, but the country should own this. Any country. So that's a part of that. My role here is, as per our vision, that how I'm going to help every individuals or creators or innovators or country that they can be independent and they should not borrow this compute or lease this compute or rent this compute from somebody else, and how we can go and optimize it. So that's where we started building a data center first in inland data center network, which is more affordable than the traditional player who is there in the market. And then we build a cloud layer. So my job is to identify that which are the fundamental blocks which need to be solved to align with our vision. And that's where the NeevCloud, we started building our own, India's own public cloud company, NeevCloud. Neev means foundation in Hindi. And that's what we are trying to build, the foundation digital infrastructure for India. So as a chief architect for this, my vision is to, make it affordable and available for everyone. And this intelligence factory or data refinery has to have in every state and every city in the country, owned and operated by, Indians. That's a vision.
Great. Thank you for that detailed perspective, Narendra. And what really stands out from your journey till date is how your role is far beyond a defined title, and it reflects ownership, long-term thinking, and a deep alignment with the company's vision. Now, moving ahead, today, despite being a software and startups powerhouse, India faces a big deficit in high performance computing architecture. According to industry estimates, India possesses less than 2% of the world's AI compute capacity, severely lagging behind the United States, China, and the European Union. Now, this disparity becomes particularly concerning as AI applications and systems increasingly drive economic value across sectors and the need of compute infrastructure grows. So, compute has been very critical as capital for innovation. How do you define the economics of compute in today's AI and data driven world?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Computer is the new capital in the industrial age. If you had electricity, you could build a factory in the AI age. If you have compute, you can build intelligence. So how this compute economy, you can see the US, China, whenever supercomputing discussion happen, these two names appear in front of you. The China versus US. There's no India, there's no other country. So, and this compute is, or the chips is owned by, or this intelligence technology is owned by majorly Americans. And American companies are trying, it's very expensive. When the other side, the American company is making the chip, original manufacturing cost is $6,000. They are selling at $60,000. Look at the margins. And that's also how the users consume this intelligence. If it is not cheap, it is not affordable, then how the people are going to adopt the intelligence, and intelligence required. So intelligence ROI equally important, and it should be sustainable. This is my view. And to order to make it, what we need to do is, we can do our part of the job is first to make, this affordable. How we can get the accessibility, how we can make it affordable than the hyperscale cloud provider, because they are adding a lot of margin on top of it. And if you can reduce that margin, so that's where we build the technology platform and the data center platform. Now we are aiming for creating, entering into the chips. So how we can build indigenous inferencing capability in India. So because inferencing is going to be 10x of the training, and that is going to required in every aspect whatever we are doing on the AI world. The chips are most important, and that's where, we believe that it should be sustainable. It should be everyone. The American companies are monopolistic. They are monopoly driven ambitious companies, and they have to reduce this cost to make it more widely available and win more market. So I think we are contributing from our part, but given the time and scale and the innovation required in its own time, so we believe that India is largest consumer of at least 20% market share in the world data consumption. And look at the all big companies, social media companies, their 20% market share is India. So if Indian are contributing, then why we are not getting into building the chips? So we started working on that direction. We have created a separate unit under that. And coming 4 5 years down the line, we'll be able to reduce this cost drastically. As I given the margin clarity that the manufacturing cost of that GPU is 6,000, selling at 60,000, huge margin, So how to optimize and reduce, and we have to do our part of the work to make it more sustainable and make India self-reliant. I call it Atmanirbhar intelligence. It is most important for India.
Very true, Narendra. And I very much liked your point that if you have compute, you can build intelligence. And I think the economics of compute today isn't only about cost efficiency, it's about how intelligently organizations allocate compute to drive speed, scale, and measurable outcomes. And of course, it's also interesting how, this shifts the conversation from how much compute do we have to how effectively are we using it. So this balance between performance, sustainability, and cost is becoming a defining factor for modern digital enterprises, especially in India, if we talk about in the Indian context. Having said that, so of course we understand why the conversation is shifting to domestic and sovereign compute infrastructure, and we really would want India to be on that path as soon as possible and have scalable and sustainable infrastructure. But I think with the rise of AI, it's undoubtedly the rise of AI has made compute more valuable than ever. Because training large models requires enormous processing power, and the more compute a company access, the faster it can experiment, refine, and deploy solutions. So this has given rise to a compute arms race, where organizations invest heavily in high performance
Hmm.
infrastructure to maintain that edge. What, according to you, are certain structural challenges? Probably it can be cost or energy or even dependency, which is kind of holding back Indian startups and researchers.
So, I can explain in this that long back when our researcher need compute infrastructure or a supercomputing access, they were dependent more on the American supercomputers, and they have to end up giving their patent share with the companies where they are consuming the supercomputing or proving their thesis. So, but now it is changing. Dependency is like, it is not the thing which we should consider and build our own. So fast forward now, what is required to optimize, and end-to-end optimization is required to enable affordable this AI compute is first start with the foundational infrastructure layer, which is data center. It has to be at the sustainable location, as I mentioned previously, that why we chose Indore, why we chose Raipur to build AI factories and AI SEZ and AI campus. Because the cost of land start from the site selection. The lower, like we have got land in Raipur is 30 lakh rupees an acre versus in Mumbai is 30 crore rupees an acre. One small thing can lead to make it affordable. Then we started building the sites horizontal. Today the traditional data centers are building vertically, and it take 18 to 24 months to complete. We are building in 6 to 8 months. When we did this, created this playbook, we spent a lot of time and efforts that how we can achieve this, how we can make it affordable, because we know that we can not dependent on the other nations for our intelligence, building AI, and because this is the national infrastructure which we are building. Then we don't have water for people in India, water is a scarcity, and this compute required a lot of cooling, because this is a high dense racks which is consuming 150 kilowatt of density, 150 kilowatt of power. So we need to cool down them. Then we started thinking of adopting dielectric cooling technology, and we built and we got a patent in India that this doesn't require water to cool down the servers, and we are using coolant today to cool down our servers. So it's like this is start from the scratch to optimize the entire infrastructure, and we started with that fact that let's focus on this and optimize from the scratch. So one is the infrastructure which we optimize. Second, on the top of it, there is no cloud layer. So we decided to build a cloud layer and give it an accessible for everyone, and the same experience what they are getting in the foreign player. Latency is very equally important, and as a many workload like a healthcare, as a other kind of a critical sector, defense, you cannot dependent on others' infrastructure. The same time, capex is very high intensive. Capex is required to build the data center, buy the chips. So how you are going to optimize it, right? So we come up with a very innovative approach on our structuring, partner with people who's having the capital and bringing this technology and operational experience and putting and buying the GPUs and borrowing money from the banks and lowering down our interest rate, partnering with the state government. That's how we have to be very creative in every aspect to make it affordable and available. This is what we have done. So energy access to GPU access to creating a technology to innovating on the data center. Look, the traditional data center or in general data center is not matching up the speed of the AI, how the AI is growing. The infrastructure is a bottleneck, and we decided to take on that bottleneck, that let's fix this first. And we have got a fantastic engineering team which come up with the very innovative solutions, and we are far ahead in the this optimization of the infrastructure and the cost reduction.
That was great, Narendra. And of course, I agree with you that with the kind of a growth that we are witnessing today in terms of AI deployment and applications, the kind of infrastructure we have is something which is not capable enough to handle this massive growth. And I'm also glad to understand about the horizontal deployment approach that you guys have implemented in terms of addressing the challenges of infrastructure and economics that we are facing today. And of course, it brings out that these challenges are not just about technicalities or technical bottlenecks. I think these are deeply structural and infrastructure related. And when it comes to solving today's problems, it's more about creating an environment where innovation can thrive sustainably over the next decade. Having said that, when we are talking about sustainability, Narendra, I think India definitely is experiencing a rapid expansion in cloud computing. And, we just discussed that we need that robust and scalable IT infrastructure. However, this swift digital transformation presents a very significant challenge. How do we balance technological growth with environmental sustainability, ensuring that the rapid expansion of cloud infrastructure does not come at the cost of increased carbon emissions and resource depletion? So, while we are focusing on sustainability, we also need to focus on affordability as well. So, how do you think India as a country can balance affordability and sustainability?
This is really a good question and very close to my heart. I always say water is for people, not for servers. So sustainability matters in this high capital intensive. It's like a railroad, how the America has started their growth journey, building railroad and connecting, connecting cities and all. And the same we are facing with the AI infrastructure, that we are building that highway, and we have to be very, keeping the sustainability from day one. And we because we are a new generation AI infrastructure company, so what we did, a lot of initiative we started, like as I mentioned, that we are using liquid cool technology. We are going in the location which are more sustainable. Look at the if you put a data center in coastal area, versus in the less humidity area, your equipment life goes higher. It can be 10 years, 15 years versus 5, 6, 7 years you have to replace the equipment next to the coastal. So those are the strategic or more sustainable location we chosen. And the good thing is the AI data center can be anywhere, because AI is like wherever the power is cheap. Look at the US. Initially data centers are near to Virginia, but even Virginia processes 70% of the world data today. But when the AI started, everybody moved where the power is available, and the Dallas is the market. And India's Dallas is central India, where you will get a surplus power and the clean energy, because MP, Chhattisgarh, this state has a clean energy surplus, and you can put the solar and wind both, and you can get around the clock sustainable energy using the BSS, and we are doing the same. So it's a start from the location, it's a start from the environmental impact, it's to start what technology you're using, water versus liquid, we are using liquid cooling technology, and the entire our PUE. So data center has a three aspect: power usage effectiveness, PUE, CUE, carbon utilized efficiency, carbon CUE, and there is a WE, water usage effectiveness. So carbon usage effectiveness is also reduced when you use the dielectric coolant and liquid cooling. So traditional data center is 1.6 PUE, and our PUE is 1.2, which is we are saving a lot of capex and the opex on that. And also in we are building our buildings with a steel, not using more concrete. You can give a thoughts on very very small tiny things, and you can save the carbon emissions. So that start from that. And fast forward, we are the entire data center platform, wherever we are going to use 100% clean energy. That's a part of our commitment, and that's how we are making it more sustainable data center platform. And the same time, the good thing in India, you don't need to pay premium to adopt the clean energy. Compared to grid price, the clean energy is 30% cheaper. So this is another, the government of India has come up with a policy for solar and commoditize that market. There's enough investment and enough supplier in the market to get you power in 6 to 9 months. So why you are not adopting? That's a question mark for other operator, data center operator, and why you are not making affordable. I'll give you one more example, because commercially customers always think, and we are talking about affordability. Our power cost is 4 rupees versus Mumbai, Chennai, and any other market in the country today charging 8 to 9 rupees power cost per unit. So technically, your power bills will be half, and the data center and the cloud business running the data center operating the raw material is power. And if it is half by default, giving the same experience and the same infrastructure, so why not? People should move in the this infrastructure. So they will definitely go. It's more sustainable and affordable at the same time.
Definitely, Narendran. I think what stands out from your response is that what we truly need today is intentional design, whether that's investing in greener data centers, optimizing workloads, or leveraging more energy efficient hardware, or even rethinking how and where compute is deployed. So I think that the overall approach is very important. So it's not about scaling faster, it's about scaling smarter. And with the kind of advantages that India has today, I think it has a unique opportunity to define a global blueprint where cost efficiency or renewable energy adoption and responsible innovation can move forward together rather in silos. And I think this is a conversation, the entire ecosystem from policymakers to technologists. It's important that we continue engaging with it. And having said that, when we're talking about policymakers, I think that the role of government is also very important. The Indian government has launched initiatives such as the India AI mission to build AI focused compute infrastructure. However, industry experts argue that public private partnerships will be very critical to bridging the gap that we are facing. The government's India AI mission is a very crucial step towards building this AI compute infrastructure. But I guess when we have a public-private partnership, that will be a very key defining moment in terms of ensuring we are deploying technologies and having that infrastructure scalably and affordably. So what role you think, government, private players, and even academia researchers together play in democratizing access to compute?
This is what India should do, what India AI has done. The government has taken step, very good initiative of India AI. We have to democratize AI infrastructure in the country. The infrastructure which is costing us billions or going to cost us billions of dollars. But how, where to start? Look, if we take a step back and understand the India as a whole, we have, learning and talent. So learning and talent means we have worked for every company in the world as a Indians and enable them, done the job for them. So we have got a lot of knowledge power. Now, knowledge need to be, through knowledge you can create intelligence, but intelligence required compute. So without compute, this knowledge is irrelevant, right? So we believe that the AI infrastructure has to be democratized, and this is the first step which India AI mission has done. And I think the government alone cannot do everything because if you need to put a billions of dollars, they can be enabler. But there are a lot of companies in the country whom should get into this, and every state should have at least one AI focus infrastructure. AI factory is what we are calling nowadays. So every state has to build that. Every state and people and enterprise has to invest in building the GPU infrastructure or compute infrastructure because we have talent, we have consumer. Look at the our population, 1.5 billion. Out of that, 800-900 million people are online. We are 3x of US population. Imagine the market size we have, more than a market, our consumer. Look at yesterday I was in Bihar. The Bihar students are like 3 crore, which is like, huge. One state. Now, AI can be implemented in the education, and what are the possibilities? How we can make it 50 rupees per month, not $20 per month. We can make it, and India has those capability to make it to democratize this infrastructure. Academia, after AI, academia has to take the lead, and every research scientist has to become a entrepreneur of the intelligence, because they are the one who's put in their sweat and efforts putting their research, and they should start focusing and building LLMs. Maybe they can build SLMs or LLMs and whatever the support they need. Government of India and people like us are there for them, but they have to take a step forward now and ask for a compute. Private players are, we have a lot of technology companies, we have a lot of industries, conglomerate. Everybody should think about, they are getting into the real estate, they are getting into the business banking, all kind of thing. But they have to now focus on the AI. I believe that everybody is going to focus in coming years because this intelligence factory is not going anywhere for another 20, 30 years. It is going to continue to support the growth of the country. And every this is the time for India because we have billion users, and these billion users need the intelligence. Look at the diversity in the language ecosystem. We talk many local languages and all those things. So now till today, the person who doesn't know how to operate Instagram and Facebook and all those things, they started operating it. Now the intelligence will help on that, and they can upskill themselves and generate wealth for their family. So this is, I think, new era, and everybody should contribute and partner and make this intelligence equally. You can create this intelligence for everyone. Kind of vision should have everyone.
Definitely. And I think democratizing access to compute is not a single player game. It's a shared responsibility across the ecosystem. Governments clearly have the power to create foundational infrastructure or policy frameworks. And equally important is the role of private players who bring scalability, efficiency, and a real world application to the table. So I think ultimately this kind of collaboration determines whether compute becomes a bottleneck or a true catalyst for inclusive and sustainable technological growth. So ultimately, I think in essence, compute is no longer just a technical requirement, it's a strategic asset. And it has become the backbone of modern innovation. Its availability, efficiency, and scalability defines what is achievable in today's fast paced digital world. From powering AI and machine learning to enabling startups to compete with global tech giants, compute is a true currency of innovation. Well, thank you so much, Narendra, for taking out the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that India's AI sector has the potential to compete with global leaders. But overcoming its current infrastructure and skills challenges will require a coordinated effort. And the future of AI in India depends on smart investments in compute infrastructure and cost efficient AI deployment strategies. Thank you so much, Narendra, for your insights. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Great. So, this is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion around compute and how India can emerge as a global leader in developing cost efficient and robust IT infrastructure. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes, and you can view all our previous episodes on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.